Yeah, I've seen the sign. Am I on or
you are on?
Oh, okay. All right. This should be a fun evening. The room will be smelling good. You'll smell good if you want to. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, because I do not have a regular brick and mortar business. I don't have a multi-level marketing business, but I write books. These are all the books that I've written, every single one from 1994 to 2 years ago to the one that's coming out. I'll show you the covers in a minute. The one that's coming out in November, and I'm just about to start writing another one.
And you are a secretary.
Yes, I'm a secretary. So you'll learn a little bit about me. You'll learn what I do when I go on book tours, and we will morph into a woman's evening of pampering herself and why it's so important to nurture yourself and tend to your well-being so that you do not become dried and fried. Which I have been there too. So anyway, my name is Stephanie Tourles. I am a licensed esthetician, a skincare specialist, licensed in both Maine and Massachusetts. I have a background in Western herbalism and Ayurveda, which is East Indian herbalism. I have extensive training in the nutritional sciences, as well as I am a certified aromatherapist. I got my start in herbalism when I was just a wee little girl growing up in North Georgia. My grandfather had a small homestead, about 20 acres or so, and so I'd go visit him, and my brother was more interested in seeing the cows out in the pasture, and I liked to walk in the meadows and the forest, and my grandfather saw that interest, I guess, and take my little hand and started telling me, teaching me all the trees, what the bark was for, what the leaves were for, what the acorns were for. Hello, Casey. Come in. And then he would teach me about all the flora and fauna that was in the, on the forest floor and the meadow. So I learned all about the roots and the gray clay that was in the banks of the creeks, what that was used for. All the feral dogs that happened to hang out in the country around my grandfather's house, I'd say a lot of them, not all of them, would for some reason come to my grandfather's carport with all of their ticks and their wounds and their bite marks and everything else, and walked right up to him like they knew he was going to heal them. And so these mangy dogs would come up, and he would show me what he'd made, this nasty tar-looking salve made out of pine sap and turpentine and other things, and they would let him, these wild dogs, just rub things on their sores. So he also showed me how to make salves, how to make tinctures out of roots. His refrigerator was absolutely loaded with canning jars full of yellow roots and dark, weird-looking liquids and barks and cherry bark and everything. He showed me how to make muscadine wine, which was purely medicinal. He called it for his arthritis. That's wild grape, by the way. He showed me how to smoke grapevines, which is what, if you couldn't afford cigarettes, that's what you would smoke. Either that or bowl of catnip or grow your own tobacco. So he said tobacco was very good for you. Another thing I learned about tobacco, because a lot of southern people grew that, was they would chew it up into a spit paste, and if you got stung by a bee or bit by an ant, you would take that spit paste and put it on the bite. I found that rather repulsive. My great-grandmother chewed tobacco and had spittoons all over the house, and that's what she did when 7 of her children, or any of her children, would get bit by an insect. Take some of that out, slap it on you. I thought that was disgusting. I've now since discovered that the little weed plantain grows in your grass will do the same thing, and I'll put my own spit paste on it. Thank you very much. Someone else. Anyway, so that's how I started in herbs and got my interest, and from there on it was self-teaching in every class I could take. Then my skincare interest and teaching came from my mother when I was young. In the 70s, she sold Avon and Mary Kay. Who didn't in the 70s? Everybody wanted the big pink Cadillac. So she would bring home samples all the time. I didn't care about the colored cosmetics at all. I liked the little jars with nice smelling creams and lotions and masks and scrubs and things like that. I would read the labels. I don't know why, but I would read the labels and go, I can't pronounce these things. What are these things that are in here? And why does it smell so strong of roses or something else? What's in it? And I would not see anything that said rose. It would just say fragrance. Okay, so I went to a big bookstore one day and found a cosmetic dictionary. They were not as commonplace as they are now. So I started looking up these things, and I would find out, ooh, that's a synthetic fragrance, that's a synthetic color, that's a preservative, this is propylene glycol, which happens to be the major component of the antifreeze in your car, which also makes creams feel very smooth and it attracts water to your skin, but none of these things do one iota for your health and can get absorbed into your body. So I thought, can I find a natural ingredient that will do what the dictionary says these things are doing, but will benefit you? So I started making products, skincare, hair care, whatever it was. And anybody that would give me an arm, a leg, a back, a face, a head, a piece of skin, I would, and let me slap these products on, I would, and experiment and be my guinea pig. And so I recorded in a notebook, you know, this was a great product, this was not. 95% of what I made turned out pretty good. There was one exception. I made this wonderful white cosmetic clay with some full fat cream added to it. Mix it together, nice and smooth. This is going to make a great mask. You know, there weren't as many books available to tell me what everything did, so I was just experimenting. And then I thought, let's do some blueberry juice. Blueberries are great for you. I didn't know anything about antioxidants, you know, nothing like that. I just knew it smelled good. This will, it was the main ingredient I thought would make the thing smell good. So I put it in, I'm like, okay, it's kind of blue colored, but no big deal. And so here I was, maybe 14 years old, something like that, and she was in her early 20s, nice lady, and she said, sure, put that on my face. Well, after it started to dry, I took it off 30 minutes later. She was blue-green. Her face and her neck were blue-green. So, moral of the story, eat your blueberries, do not smash them on the face. In about 48 hours, she did return to normal. But you live and learn, and if you let a little teenage kid put goo on your face, then you may, you know, take that in your own hands. Anyway, so from then on, I just wrote down everything. I hung out in health food stores. And a health food store in the late 70s, mid 70s, were these little mom and pop places. They were kind of on the fringe and very hippy dippy. So I would go and hang out in there in the vitamin section and what existed as skincare and body care product section and the book section, and there was not much, not like the Whole Foods of today. But I would sit there and absorb and read everything I could and listen to what people said. You would hear moms come in and say, no, I don't like this stuff I'm putting on my baby's bum. I want something different. Or someone else would come in and, man, that stuff is irritating me. Can I get something else? So, you know, my ears were like, ooh, radar. There is a need for chemical-free personal care products. And I loved herbs, and I loved girly stuff, you know, the creams and the ointments and the smelly stuff. So I put things together. And then I submitted my first manuscript. 10 years later, after zillions of rejections, but the rejections kept getting more positive. Like, if this was the 60s, we would publish this, or we're really thinking about it, but we're not quite ready. Then finally, someone grabbed it, and the only reason they gave it to me, they said, was because I had the esthetician license. They had had a lot of other submissions that were similar. They said, oh, you sound a little more professional. So I was like, cool. Anyway, so from there on, I have now written 10 books. The 10th one comes out in November. I'll start writing another one soon on raw foods. But what I mainly teach about, and where all of these formulas are coming out of, is how to pamper yourself, how to take care of yourself, how to make personal care products that are chemical-free. If you don't feel like making any formulas in any of my books, that's fine. At least you will have an education from reading my book to know to go to Whole Foods or a co-op and say, oh yeah, she mentioned that jojoba oil was really good for this. Okay, so I'm going to look for a product that's primarily that. So this is like it's a very educational book on taking care of yourself with pure products, okay? People that come away from my classes on skincare, my book tour speeches on skincare, if they don't care about herbs, they don't care about much about nutrition or anything like that, the only thing I really want them to take away from my talks is that your skin eats. And what I mean by that is that it absorbs up to 60% of what you apply to it. And that's a lot. And some people go, I don't believe that. You know, I put water on there, it goes off. It's like a barrier. Well, not necessarily. It's called transdermal penetration. That means through the skin barrier. If you still have a hard time believing that, what is a nicotine patch, a birth control patch, nitroglycerin patch? It is medicine through the skin into the bloodstream. That is what your synthetics, your colors, your fragrances, your propylene glycols, your preservatives, they can all make their way into your bloodstream one way or another. So why not use something that's pure and natural that can benefit you with no toxicity versus putting on a personal care product that has potential for irritation or to do absolutely no good. Okay, so that's the biggest thing that I tell people. Take care of yourself, and take care of yourself in a way that's enjoyable, that smells good, that feels good to put on, and that's good for you. Okay. The books that I wrote, this was the first one called the Herbal Body Book. Oh, good. Yeah. Came out in '94. Okay. Just went out of print 2 years ago. This one that came out in '07 is an expansion and enlargement of this. Okay, this has been a very good seller for me.
That is a great book.
Thank you.
And I've given it to lots of people and recommended it to so many.
Thank you.
All happy.
Good. Second book was Naturally Healthy Skin. So very in-depth to all kinds of skin conditions. This book, 50 Simple Ways to Pamper Yourself, which I will address when we start talking about pampering in a minute. It was a real quick write. This is the same book, but Hallmark grabbed it for their stores, had my publisher redesign it, print 400,000 copies, put it in the stores nationwide. So that's a pretty cool thing. So I won't go into the odd contractual agreements that I sure don't want about that book, but I do get good comments, and it was good publicity. So not everything goes perfect in business. Natural foot care, all about feet, everything that happens to feet, how to take care of feet, and we tend to ignore our feet, take them for granted until they start barking at us. This is like a little double book. It's Lift Me Up, which I wrote that side, little tips on how to energize yourself and lift up your emotions. Flip it over, it's Calm Me Down, which was written by a psychotherapist, another woman. So this side of the book is actually this book. So they just did them in 2 different formats. That was a little fun, goofy book to write. Actually, an excellent seller. It seems to be like the U.S. public likes to buy little impulse things they stuff in a stocking, give for a birthday, that are kind of silly books. Those things sell quite well. This book, like I said, 50 Simple Ways to Pamper Yourself, went out of print last year. Books do that. I have 9 copies left. Anybody wants them for bargain prices, and when you start pampering yourself, there's good tips. So $6 a piece there. Organic Body Care Recipes came out in '07. My absolute favorite book that I've written. Raw Energy. This is all about raw foods, how to introduce more raw food into your diet, the benefits of enzymes into your diet. Really pretty book. They did full color for me. And this is a poster. This is what my publisher will make for me frequently, announcing an event that I'm going to, or a convention, a bookstore, whatever, what I'm going to be discussing, the picture of me, the date, and all that. So they do a good job with that. I'm going to be in, this is for Belfast, next Saturday the 28th. I wanted to be in a festival that day, but I'll go on Sunday. I'm going to be doing a book signing. So, but they do a nice job promoting me. That's who I do. Some of my own promotion by writing a bi-monthly blog on healthcare topics, whatever. But the publisher does a lot of promotion for me. Okay.